Two real cryptid legends doing what they do, bringing information for me and you. Ron Morehead and his Sierra Sounds, Darrell, Denton, the Tennessee Bigfoot Man, along with Michelle Desrochers, bring adventures across this land. So much information brought to you each week, actively out there looking as the truth they seek.
Good evening, everyone. See me bopping in there? Anyway, welcome to Two Real Cryptid Legends with Darrell, Denton, Ron Morehead, and myself, Michelle Desrochers, your moderator, host, and segment producer. So, big thank you. I mean, a really big thank you to Scott Hunt for the amazing intro. We appreciate you so much, and we just love it. And the feedback is amazing. People actually go out of their way to let me know how much they love it. So we are broadcasting live here on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM from the Gulf Coast, 107.7 FM from beautiful New Orleans. Tonight, please join Ron, Darrell, and myself in welcoming Joe Barger. Highway Dogman Encounter. Horrifying. I mean, horrifying enough to see one, but more horrifying if it's chasing you. So without further ado, let's bring on the gents. Hello. How are you guys?
Michelle.
Wow.
Hey, Michelle.
Welcome. How are you guys doing?
We are fantastic. It's good to have my brother Ryan in the same state together, and we'll just ride down the road. So here we are in the awesome state of Tennessee. Thank you for the awesome introduction. And Ron, you ready for a big show?
I are. Yes, I are.
Yeah, I are already. I love that.
Michelle does such a great job introducing everything. I love the way you talk about the song and it gets everybody fired up and ready for the show.
I know. I just had visions of the picture coming up, and I'm just down here. Yeah. So anyway, but yeah. So are we ready for our special guest?
Let's do it. Let's bring him on. He's a great man.
All right, here we go. Joe, hello. Welcome.
Oh boy.
Hey, Joe.
Welcome. We're so honored that you're here. Ooh, big flash of lightning in the back just kind of sets the stage.
It does set the stage. This man's got an unbelievable story that's just going to keep everybody listening.
I'm in the swamp too.
Man, it sure is great to have you here. Thank you for being here, Joe.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Oh boy. So where do we start with this? I mean, I've read whatever Darrell has sent, and I have to say, like, aside from the fact that my head went like this, just like, what was that? That's beyond just having an encounter. Like that is something that is life-changing. So where would you like to start with this?
Well, there's some backstory to this encounter too, and this isn't the only cryptid I've ever seen, but this is by far the most life-changing experience of my life. I gotta say, it's definitely changed the way I've looked at the world ever since this day. So, and brought me to a lot of truths that I I was confused about maybe before this. Afterwards, doing research, but and come from biblical, Christian backgrounds, and that's kind of how I look at all of this. I wasn't sure at first, but I'm pretty sure now. I mean, there's no other explanation. It's has to do with this kind of spirituality in some ways. It's something you got to study and look into, but when you do, you see it for what it is.
Yeah. Joe, let me ask you a question. Do you have any Native American blood in you?
No, I don't. I am 100%. I had a DNA test done through my family, and I have. That's interesting too. I know some of that. Yeah, I got lineage that goes back 4,000 years, but it's all from the UK.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 80% Irish and some Scandinavian and in there a little bit, but and mostly English and Irish. 80% Irish. Yeah.
Yeah, I know you. I think I understood before when I was talking to you that you had some occurrences during your lifetime, but nothing like what you had on the road with this creature.
Yeah, I've had a few through my lifetime. I have, and some I didn't even realize I had until later. That looking back on and realizing, this probably I've heard cryptids before. At the time, I didn't know what they were, but now I do. Things like that. I did see, actually, after this happened, I saw a Dogman when I was 9.
Wow.
And that was up near Alpena, Michigan, which is far northeast, up in the lower peninsula, up by, not far from Mackinac Bridge, really.
Oh, I've been there.
Yeah, it's not all that far from there. And that was a quick, I thought it was a huge wolf. That's what I thought it was. And, I was staying with my aunt. That was something. I mentioned it to her, and there's a whole story behind staying. I used to stay with her and my cousins and stuff during summer vacations from school for a couple of weeks and stuff. And they knew something was up there. I didn't know at the time, but you look back on everything that you didn't put any thought into, and after you realize some things in life, you start thinking about these things. Realize that I had family on both sides that I would visit. They'd live in the country and they'd have farms and stuff, and they were so adamant about being inside at dark, and I mean heavily adamant about it. And makes you wonder what they knew but didn't say.
Wow. Yeah.
And it seemed over the top when I was a kid. It's like there's nothing out here. We're in the middle of nowhere. What's the problem? There's really, but so yeah. But
how old were you when you seen the first creature that you're talking about? Roughly your age at that time.
I was 9.
Okay, you were 9, and
Yeah.
and then you continued to see them most of your lifetime?
No, I never really even knew what that was. I thought it was a big wolf. And
I heard you say that you thought it was a big wolf.
It wasn't, but looking back on it, there's no way it was way too big. It was the size of a pony.
Oh yeah.
And it was walking away. It was on all fours, and it was foggy. It was early in the morning. So, but I saw it from inside the house. It was in a field. But
That's definitely pretty frightening for a 9-year-old child,
yeah. I thought it was odd because my aunt and uncle, they just kind of brushed it off. It's like, yeah, there's no wolves, or anything around here, but I do think they knew something was going on around there. Looking back at things, because they really they knew after dark, just don't be out there, and
Sure,
it
yeah.
just seemed a little crazy to me, more than normal,
Right.
don't go out there.
I think most all of us, were raised to believe there's not a such thing as monsters in the woods. Everybody wants us to believe it's folklore or just an old wise tale or something like that. And then when you find out there are things in the woods, it's very hard to wrap your mind around it.
Yeah, it is. It is. And and I grew up and I went and, I never saw anything or really, but I did have, the thing is when I was a kid, my dad told me about my grandfather, and this is on the actual same property that I saw that Dogman. He my grandfather, when he was, well, actually not this Bigfoot, that he did see a Bigfoot, but it was when he was a teenager, and it ran him out of the woods. He was trapping, and this would have been, my dad was old when he had me, so my grandfather was born in like 1896, and my dad was born in 1921. So, I was born late, in life for my dad, but he went through World War II and went all through that, and Korean War, and then decided to get married and had me. But my grandfather got run up by a Bigfoot, and they didn't call him Bigfoot back then, but it was a hairy
man.
Yeah, some kind of hairy man or something, and and then when that Patty film came out, I was a little kid, I was like 6 or 7, something like that. I asked my dad about it. And, oh, that's real, he said, yeah, those are, And then he went ahead and told me about his dad getting run out of the woods trapping animals when he was a teenager.
So you've pretty much been involved in some type of cryptid creature during your life, at least you knew about.
Yeah, my grandmother, I was told years later, not from my grandmother, but it would be his wife, which is my dad's mother, saw a goat man twice.
Wow.
And I heard this years later. I mean, my grandmother, this is from her children. They would, my cousins and aunt, uncles and stuff like that. They would tell me stuff about her because she died when I was a baby, and that was one of the things. And they didn't say it was a goat man; they just said it was a goat-looking creature on 2 legs with hooves, and I didn't never heard of the goat man. This is something I've heard later in later years, but they described it as a goat man, so I wasn't in the cryptids. I really didn't even think about it much. I'm like, well, maybe she did see something, or I don't know. She could have been. I didn't take it very seriously though.
Yeah, I've got a very close friend that's actually seen a goat man, and he lives in Indiana. Real close friend, and he's also involved with my group, and I have a lot of respect for him. Greg Yost, he's actually did a documentary on a goat man. One they followed up I believe the Ohio River. He lives in Indiana, but several people have seen that creature, and I've never seen one of them, but I do believe they exist.
Yeah, well, this would have been when my grandmother saw these. I guess it would have been in the 1950s, probably. That's when she saw these, from the best I could gather where they were at what time. It would have been in the 50s sometime.
So was this in Michigan?
Yeah, it was actually at that place that I saw the Dogman when I was 9. It was the same place.
That's what I thought you said.
Yeah.
So how did this all start? Were you actually seeing the one that you were driving your 18-wheeler at work?
Well, you know, I saw a couple of Bigfoot too in between there, but that was when I was younger. But but this Dogman I saw was this was in 2017, and I've been driving a truck for a long time now, and you know I do carry a gun on me. You know, I have a CPL license, and I have for many years, most of my life actually. And so I was picking up a load, heavy load, out of Filer City, Michigan. It was it's in the Manistee National Forest, kind of. It's in the area. It's you know, on a river there. I think it's the Manistee River actually, but it's a paper mill. I was picking up paper, big, huge rolls of paper. You know, size of a Volkswagen. You know, kind of size.
Yeah.
And so I'm heavy. I'm loaded with like 43,000 pounds, and that's about maxing me out, you know, to be legal. So I was picking that up. I was coming back to my terminal, which was down in Kalamazoo from there. And as I was coming back, I'm maybe 20 minutes away from there, and I noticed, I'm looking at my hair. I'm not getting it. I'm not getting so low. My buzzer's coming on, but I'm looking at it getting close to red and having a hard time keeping up. So I'm like, well, I don't want to. You know, I'm gonna have to stop somewhere because you lose your air pressure. You know how it is. You just on a semi, it just locks you up. You just lock right up and you stop, right? You got to have that air pressure.
Are you talking about the air in your air brakes?
Yeah, you got to have that air to keep your brakes open. You know, you lose your air pressure, and those brakes bind right back up on your trailer. It stops you. You're not going anywhere. So I pulled over. I knew where there was a place because I've been here, you know, several times before. You know, and I kind of know the route somewhat. And so there's this area, and I'm in the Manistee National Forest, and there's this area where it looks like a turnaround maybe for snowplows. Yeah, you got it up there right now. That's the area I pulled into to look at and figure out what was going on with my airline. As I was under, there's a lot of weird stuff happened while I was doing this. You know, people talk about all these different strange phenomena with time shifts and, you know, dimensions and stuff. I'm not saying that's what I experienced, but it was crazy. Things were really off and weird for the time I was there. I found out what happened. I had a little cut in near my brake chamber on my brake lines, and I don't want to sit there forever. I keep tools and I keep little items that I can fix things on the fly if I need to, so I don't have to wait for a service truck fix me on the road. So I had the parts I needed. I had clamps. I had nipples. I just cut the line, put a nipple in, a couple clamps. They'll get me home and then get it fixed right. you know. So I was doing that, and as I was there, I was hearing things in about maybe 50, 60 feet behind me, and it's really thick because it's in June. It's broad daylight. It's like 7:30, so it don't get dark till like 9:30 or so. And, at that time of year, so it's still a few hours of daylight at least or more, and I'm seeing shadows like black shadows in between the brush and the bushes and everything in open areas where the light is blocked, and I'd see a patch of black and then it disappear, and I heard a metallic sound, like a slam. I heard,
Right.
I heard, like, it's just some crazy stuff. Like, everything looked a little bit off in color. Everything sounded a little bit different. There was no sound. Like it was like I was in a vacuum chamber. Maybe I'd hear things, but everything was like dead. Like visually and audibly, everything was dead. It seemed like, and I wasn't having a medical episode or anything, or any kind of physical problem. It was I was experiencing this, and I was seeing something moving. I heard some sticks move. It was actually, I took a picture even when I was there because it was so weird. I even took a picture. And when I looked at the picture later, there was a deer fawn in that picture that I didn't see when I was there. Little fawn was standing there, and it blended in so well I didn't see it until I looked at it later. And I just took a picture in the woods because I thought it was a bear. It was what I thought it was, black bear. And I got it fixed real fast. So I got back in the truck, and I was a little weirded out because everything was just everything was coughing. It wasn't feeling right. I was like, what is that? What are those sounds? And why is everything weird like this? And then after I got back in the truck, I started looking at my pressure, and my pressure was up, and it was holding, and so what?
John, let me ask you: did you notice any missing time or anything? Because it sounds like you were maybe in a portal or something.
Yeah. Well, I know that's the thing is I don't know for sure. I guess why I never really said anything about it because I don't know for sure. If it was, it wasn't a lot because I was kind of back at my terminal, kind of like at it normally. I was a little bit later because of everything that happened, and I took a different route back than I normally would, which took a little longer. But it wasn't crazy like missing hours or anything.
Yeah, I got you. So you took off from this area where you fixed your big rig, and then what happened?
Well, I started rolling, and I'm going, and where this is at, it's at the bottom of a pretty steep grade, and I'm really heavy too. And so when you're in a semi and you're really heavy and you're trying to go up a hill, you're 25 is about your best. Because you're going to, you have no momentum from a dead stop. So I look around, I get turned around, I get there. I didn't notice any traffic at all either, no cars this whole time. Not another vehicle at all. And, so as I'm moving, I'm going up this hill, and I'm hitting about 25 miles an hour. I'm looking around, and I notice it's getting dark. Like I just noticed out of the corner of my eye, it's getting dark over on my passenger side. And at the time I was in a cab that was no sleeper, so I had a back window. And then it was blocked out. So, it's like the sun was blocked out. So when I looked over, there was that dog, that wolf head, huge, massive wolf head, that was just, looked like he was on my running board. He was moving so fluidly, so
Wow.
and so quietly. It wasn't hearing footsteps. And he's kind of looking down, which I'm sitting at about 9 feet. So this dog man's got to be 9 to 10 feet tall at minimum, 9.5. I'd say 10 feet because he had this. He was looking down from the top of the window.
Wow.
So yeah, he was huge and just massive, and his whole head was as big as the window was. And these are big windows. On these trucks. Yeah. And yeah, there's another one that was. It was jet black
Wow.
like
Is
that.
that actually what you seen? Was it looking through the window like that?
Yeah.
Oh,
And it was staying. It was just staying with it.
Wow. You're driving down the road and this thing's looking in the window, looking in your side window like that.
Yeah. And this all happened for about 10 seconds of this. He was looking at me. He didn't, his eyes had intelligence in them, and they did not look like an animal eye,
Wow.
in the eyes. There was something there that's a good, iteration of what it looked like, but it was probably even somewhat bigger than that, and it had a mane. It had a thick mane.
Did it make any sound, Joe? Did it make any sounds?
No, it didn't make any sounds. I could hear it breathing. It was breathing. It's pretty. I would say. So maybe there was low gruntings here and there, but everything was happening so fast, and I was so freaking out. I could hear definitely breathing, and his tongue was hanging out.
Wow.
And he had these long, just massive upper and lower canines. 3.5, 4 inches long. Up to bottoms were just as big as the tops. All the teeth were jagged. A lot sharper than a normal dog. Everything was just sharp and white, extremely white too. The tongue was, and the mouth was black and pink, like spotted, mottled.
Oh yeah, more of a dog-looking type inside the mouth, but
Yeah, he had a scar on his muzzle. There
wow.
was a scar on his muzzle that was probably 4 or 5 inches long. Where hair wasn't growing on it. He was totally solid black. Every single inch of it was black, but he had those amber eyes that were darting around in the truck and everything. And for those few seconds, I was trying to roll the window up. My windows were down. And because he reached both sides, it was a nice day, so I had my windows down. And he reached in with his left hand. They have hands, not paws.
Yeah, they have fingers.
Fingers, probably claws on the end that looked like they're 3 inches long. He reached in a little ways and pulled back real fast, and caught the rubber on my seal, on my window seal there, and kind of tore that a little bit. Had a couple scratches on my door where he was trying to open it.
Wow, man, I don't know how you were able to keep driving.
How long did he keep pace with you, Joe?
Well, about 10 seconds before I gave him a dirt mat. But
you did what now? You did what?
I gave him a dirt nap.
Okay.
Is what happened. So
Gotcha.
I had a gun strapped. That's the gun right there. And I think that's the ammunition he had there too that I was had, which is the maximum expansion bullets. They're just hard to explain unless you know what bullets do and how they're designed. It's hard to explain how absolutely nasty these things are.
I've never seen bullets like that. That's absolutely amazing.
You shoot them at something, they stay together. They keep their shape when they hit something hard like bone or anything. But when they hit soft tissue, they open up like a boat propeller, or or a broadhead. I mean, they're just, and they're solid copper. They're just nasty. They're just really brutal rounds, really brutal. And I had that in there because, I'm in the mindset, well, to use a gun for self-defense, you don't want to play around. You want it to work and work fast, quickly.
No doubt about that.
I'm a gun guy anyway. I've been into guns my whole life, and I got, thing is, that's kind of like my hobby for a long time, is guns and shooting.
So, did you fire upon the creature when he was inside the truck?
Yeah, no, he was still there. This is another thing that happened, and this is all within about a 10-second time frame. And I didn't know what to do. And I've never been that scared before.
I don't know how you managed to control yourself. You're driving with this.
I don't either. It's the Lord. I'm telling you, that's all it was.
Yeah.
I do have training, and I have some military training, and I've been shooting my whole life anyway. I shoot quite a bit from a kid, and still do when I have the time. But so I'm trained in some ways where, when you have some training in things, a lot of times you don't even have to think about it. But to do whatever task it is when you are well versed in some skill, But I had it strapped to my seat, and I had a cooler on the other side in between the seats. So you couldn't see it, you couldn't see it from either side. And he was looking around and darting his eyes around, looking at me, darting his eyes around. His hand came in, and I got this impression. I don't know if it's they talk about, mind speaker or something that they can do. But I did get the impression that I sensed, at least, that this thing might be to know that he had me and there's nothing I can do about it.
Wow.
And right at that, that was the impression I got mentally. Whether that happened the way, some people think it might be or not, I don't know. But I got that impression right there. And when I got that, when that happened, that's kind of when I instantly, came out of my almost panic mode and went into action. I'm, like I said, I'm pretty good with firearms. I'm fast. I'm really fast. Too.
Yeah, at that particular time, you didn't feel any type of zapping
No,
or input sound?
Yeah, I practice all the time with long guns and pistols. I practice taking them off of my shoulders, slinged up, all kinds of things that I practice. Just because, the first one shot is the one that's losing, right? So you don't want to be shot first, or you lost. So that's the whole name of the game with self-defense, is a frame of mind. So I practice a lot with long guns and pistols and everything, and being fast about it, dude, fast and accurate. Well, anyway, I pulled that gun and I shot him twice in the face, and I think I hit
twice in the face.
Twice, yeah.
Wow, at point blank.
Like boom, boom. Wow. I mean, the split time was on the trigger had to be, like a thousandth of a second. It was fast.
Is it cranial?
Yeah.
In the head, yeah.
I think I hit him in the eye because he went down as quick as I hit him. He went down just as fast as I hit him.
Wow.
He didn't know what hit him, but when I pulled that gun, I was looking at him and I kind of was looking at him just before that. The thing was, this was more muscle memory than anything else, or just be a trait.
That's amazing. It really is. I can't imagine the repercussion you had inside that cabin with that loud noise.
Yeah. My ears were ringing for a good while after that. I didn't realize that at the time. I wasn't even realizing my ears were ringing until a little while later.
But I'm sure you were still in almost a complete state of confusion with this thing trying to get in your truck, and you're firing 2 rounds up on it. So when you fired the 2 rounds into its eye, did it just fall outside the truck?
Yeah, he just fell down, and we're moving, pretty good pace. Wind is blowing in his face, and his eyes are squinting sometimes because of the wind going past the truck, but when he saw that gun, he
knew
his eyes, like he knew, but it was too fast. It was too fast.
Yeah.
It's amazing to me how these creatures seem to know what a weapon is. It really is.
Yeah.
It was. He didn't have enough time to even know. This split second that gun came out, bullets were coming out. So, he went down and slid, and he was and I could see him in the mirror now. He's on the ground sliding, dust flying up, pushing out, pushing the weeds are getting all pushed down, and as he's sliding and he's stiff, when you hit an animal in the brain or something in the head when you shoot them into your hunter, that's a lot of times what happens is they stiffen up or their legs kind of it spasm a little bit or whatever.
Right.
So that's happened. That's what was going on with this Dogman.
Now, when you fired upon him, did he make any kind of yell or scream or anything at all?
No. He was dead before he hit the ground, I think.
Wow.
Did you stop, Joe? Did you stop?
So I was going to ask the same thing.
Yeah, I did. I came. Well, I just can't turn around a 75-foot truck anywhere on this 2-lane road. So as that happened, and I saw this going on, I saw, man, he had a long tail and fluffy tail, and I could see the legs. I could see everything. He looked like a werewolf, exactly like, what you see in the movies, and just huge, too. He looked like the size of a horse, like that's I'd say he'd have to weigh around 1,000 pounds.
That's incredible, man. It really is.
This might be a really crazy question because I just know myself. There's that part of you that's like, God, I feel like maybe I should stop and just take a picture even from the window to prove I've done this. But then there's that part of you that's the common sense kicks in and says, hell no.
After the shock, after I got over the shock after it took me a minute to get over what was happening here. I was like, am I crazy? Did that happen? What? Am I hallucinating? No, that happened. I looked at my gun I opened it up. Yeah, 2 primers are dented, so I'm like, if that is really happened, and I just killed this thing, and I saw everything, and I never hallucinated, I never had any mental problems in my life ever. I got to go back, and if that thing's still alive, I think it's dead. I'm pretty sure, from what I could tell, looking at it from the mirror, it looks dead to me. It didn't look like it was going to make it at all. I'm gonna run it over with this truck because that's just an abomination. That thing's got to die. That was my mindset,
I can understand.
So I turn around, there's a picnic area, like at about the top of that hill, a little ways down. So it took me like 5 minutes to get back. About maybe 6 minutes, I don't know, something like that. 5-6 minutes. Get turned around, and I was barely able to get around, turned around into there. If I couldn't get turned around in there was nowhere to turn around. Not till I got way down the road. So I knew that was there. I pulled into there. And, there's no semis going to that area, so it's not really cut for semis or anything. So I took a few small branches out with me, but it didn't really hurt the truck at all. The trailer kind of got a few scratches maybe. But I turn around as I come back down that hill that I climbed. So slow. I come back down that thing fast. I'm flying down that hill. Well, I see a Jeep sitting there right where it was at, and I didn't see the Dogman either. So
I didn't hear what you said. You seen a what word?
A black Jeep.
Okay.
Was there, and the Dogman is gone. I'm slowing down. I'm like, where is that thing? Those people are in danger and trouble. And what is going on? I'm like, I can't. I'm so confused.
Yeah.
It was crazy. I'm like, what? At the time, I know what happened. I know what it was about now, of course. But back then, at that time, I was so confused. I'm like, where is that thing at? It's got to be here. And if it crawled away, these people are in trouble because it's wounded.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah.
And well, anyway, I did pull over. I put my flashers on, got off the road enough to where if anybody was coming down the road, they could get by. But I stopped and I said, "Hey, and I'm concerned about them." And I'm thinking they're locals or something, and you could see where the Dogman had made about I'd say about a 30-foot swath of mowed down weeds and gravel and everything's all because there's no shoulder.
Did you see any blood anywhere, Joe?
No, I didn't. No blood. I did look because that would be one of the things that would make that or
right. But you can see where it went down and match the brush.
I can see
how many people were in the Jeep?
There was two. There was two. There was a man and a woman, and they had their windows. They know how they had really dark tinted windows in it too.
Is there any military installations around there at all?
Yeah. There's around there. I don't know about close to there.
Was that by any chance a military Jeep?
But I would say maybe there is a fort. I would say that's maybe 100 miles away, maybe from there.
So that was quick then. There's no way they could have got there that quick. Yeah.
Well, if it was military, but was it a military Jeep?
Well, yeah, and the woman had some kind of thing in her hand. It was sort of like a cell phone, but I know it wasn't a cell phone. Now, what it was, and I asked them if they were okay, and they were looking at me and weird and what are you stopping for? And giving me kind of they were kind of giving me an attitude about me stopping. I was concerned about what was happening, and I'm like, okay, well, I just said they gave me some excuse I asked, do you need help? What do you because I knew what happened there. They didn't know that what I had just did though. I knew what happened. They didn't know what I had just did, but they said that they were watching some bears. Some bears were over here and fighting or something. Maybe some lame excuse, and you could see where something was dragged off into the woods from where it had slid. It's something huge. It just scattered everything around. You could tell there was a lot of disturbance there.
How dark was it at that time, Joe?
What's that?
How dark was it at the time?
Oh, it wasn't dark at all. It was broad daylight. It's 7:30. It was lots of light. another thing about the fur on this thing too is jet black is so black, you know, it's like it absorbed light, but the tip on the ends would glisten as it moved.
Oh heck, that's the one, like the one I seen, the LBL. It lit up little light tips on the end of it with a mane around its neck.
Yeah,
that was strange, but
yeah, it's almost like it shimmered, kind of.
I know exactly what you're talking about. That's what I actually seen. Let me ask you a question. Was the Jeep parked right over the spot of where you think it went down?
Yeah. I could see it was right there. I could see where it went down. It was easy to tell where all the disturbance was on the ground.
Well, for some reason, these people definitely knew that it was there.
Well, it's probably had a tracker on it.
Right.
Like a chip. So when it went down, they monitor the heart rate and
Good
point, Michelle. Good point.
Well, I come to find out that's exactly what it was. Later, I didn't know this at the time. But there's some developments that happened as time goes on. I've had run-ins with these people. So anyway, because they found out eventually who did it. They made sure they let me know what time it was. Yeah, so.
Oh boy.
Oh my gosh. So after this particular incident happened in the Jeep, what did you do? Did you drive away, just give up on the incident and go on your way, or?
Because they would have seen the other side of your truck with the scratches and everything else, right? Oh boy.
Yeah, they didn't see the other side of my truck where the scratches were. I didn't even know that they were there right yet either. I wasn't thinking about that. And so I go back, I leave. I say, okay, well, these people are, a dead end, I guess, whatever. If they want to get killed, then I can't help them, I guess. So I leave, and I don't really think a whole lot about it. I'm kind of in a zombie state, though. I'm told that I get back, and when I got back, I did notice the damage on my door, and I put in, I just put in a report, a damage report, so it could get fixed, and I acknowledged it, and so the company could fix it. Well, I come back the next day, and my truck is gone to work. I come back to work, my truck's not there.
The truck is gone?
My truck is, I know where it is, but it's gone. I'm like, what? What happens is some of the drivers, when trucks need to be fixed or repaired, one driver he's got a truck there, and he'll take somebody's truck, go pick his up and bring, it's kind of like a shuttle service when everybody, we got like 25 drivers, and there's some what's going on. So, I come in a little later in the day, and this one driver took my truck in since he's got to go pick his up. And, but I did, put a report in on it. That's why I was gone. So I'm like, well, all right. So I get a different truck, and I wanted to go, see that door and get some pictures and stuff. Right.
Right.
So first chance I get, I go over there. It took me a day, the next day or something. I go over there, and it's maybe it's probably 2 days later, I think. And they had already put a new door on it and everything. And I'm like, well, where's the door? And it's like, well, it's over there in the, scrap pile of metal or something. And I don't know, I guess the scrap man had picked it up. It's like, I couldn't even, I was like trying to find the door, and I just couldn't.
Wow.
It was just a step behind,
Yeah.
Because I just wanted that for my own, with nothing else. Yeah. It's, I can look at it and say, yeah, I'm not nuts, right? And I didn't think to do that.
On the damage report, Joe, what did it say caused the door damage?
It was the claws.
Yeah, but I mean, what did
What
you
did
didn't
they
say that
assess it?
when you turned it in? What did you say caused the damage?
Oh, I said it was a branch that fell.
Okay.
Like a tree branch.
Yeah.
That's what I said. I didn't say, yeah, a dogman attacked me.
Yeah.
That's understandable.
We have a quick question. Larry's asking, did your Dogman have human-like hands? Also, did it have double canines?
Yeah, I had canines were just as big as the lowers were just as big as the upper.
Wow.
Wow.
And yeah, it's like they came up like below. It's almost like it must have had sockets in its gums for both of them,
Mm.
for both upper and lower. Like there was like a groove in his gums for him or something. There had to be.
Mm. Yeah.
Kind of looked like it anyway from what I.
There's been quite a few people over the years that said that some dogmen have double rows of teeth.
Oh, double row?
Yeah.
I didn't. There was a lot of teeth there, and a lot of jaggedness happening. So I couldn't. It all happened fast, and I couldn't tell you for sure if it was double teeth. His tongue was hanging out too. As he's. Yeah, it's a huge like cow tongue, so big.
Mm-hmm.
He's drooling and everything. And from what I could see though, even his teeth in the front were like big and jagged. Like I don't know about a double row. I don't know.
Weren't going to have that close of a look.
Yeah,
how many yards?
I know they were very extremely white though. They were very white. You wouldn't expect that.
How many yards do you think he ran along with you? 200 yards, 100 yards?
I would say 75 yards probably, maybe 100.
That's at 25 miles an hour?
Yeah, maybe 100 yards. Maybe. I don't even think it was 100 yards.
At 25 miles an hour?
Yeah, about that.
Yeah.
And it happened, and I know it was under 10 seconds before I shot it. It was at 10 seconds is the most. But a lot happened. I know it was, so much goes through your mind and everything, but and a lot of things, a lot of details, are there. But it happened within probably 100 yards of when I first saw it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And also another question: how close were you to Manistee National Forest?
I was in it.
Oh, in it. There you go, Larry. Yeah. In it.
Yeah.
Okay, that explains so much with the national parks and such. There's so much that goes on in all of them. So they're very well protected. And your military often get put off as like forestry people.
Yeah, I do agree with that, Michelle. I think you're right.
I think these people were trying to look like forestry people, but and looking back on it, it looked like they were trying to look like something they weren't. Looking back on it now.
Did you see any other vehicles pull up to it, or was it just that lone one?
No, I think there probably might have been after I had left.
Mm-hmm.
I went home another way than I normally do.
Oh yeah. So what happened in the aftermath of this? I know you had some experiences with these people.
Yeah. I didn't say anything to anybody at all, to nobody, not a single soul for like 4 years.
Wow. You probably had PTSD.
Yeah, well, I had dreams. I had a lot of nightmares.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But I started to realize that, I had dreams that weren't necessarily about that creature, but it was about other things, like other creatures or other things. It wasn't about that specific incident, but they were pretty bad, otherwise. But
Joe, when you drove back down there and saw the Jeep, you kept going that way to turn around again, didn't you?
no, I kept going. I went home a different way.
Oh, you just kept going straight.
Yeah,
Go back north.
I could go home another way too. The other way. When I turned around, I kept going straight. I didn't turn around. I'm like, no, screw this up. You got to. I just went straight closer to a road that's along Lake Michigan, and I took that one because now I'm heading west. So I'm heading west towards Lake Michigan now. I just got to hang a left to turn south, and there was another. I come down 31 instead of 131. So
Yeah, he did say 4 years. Your lovely other half is asking. You did say 4 years, correct? Just for the record for everyone.
yeah,
Yes.
4 years before I said anything, and then when I did, I don't know if you know who Lance Hightower is.
Yes, I do.
He had a show back at that time that was called, because I was doing research trying to figure out what is happening with this, and I come across him on his channel, and it was called Cryptid Brothers Investigations, and it's called Monsters 911 now. That's what he has, but and I liked his style. I liked the way he did things, and I felt like I could trust him and talk to him because eventually I did tell my sister about it, and she said, you have to talk to somebody about it. And my sister knows me, and I just eventually broke down and told her. One day I was visiting, and of course she knows me extremely well, growing up with her and everything, and she of course believed me wholeheartedly because she knows how I am. She had no doubt if I said it, that's what happened, right? So she said, you got to tell somebody about this, and she heard of Dogman before, but she didn't think they were real. And then when I told her, she was like, those things are real? I'm like, yeah. And so I in my research, I got a hold of Lance Hightower, and I sent him a message, and he called me back, and I told him I had a Dogman experience. And when I told him, he was like, that is an amazing story, and it's just really scary but amazing at the same time. And I told him, he said, could I put this on my show? And I'm like, no, I don't really want to do that. I'm trying to act like I'm sane out here. I don't want everybody thinking I'm a nutball or whatever. So he said, well, I won't say your name. I won't say where, it happened or anything. Just a region of the country, and this and that. But he said, well, can I narrate your story? Take notes and narrate what you say and not say your name. And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. That's cool. I think it'd be good for people willing, with an open enough mind and about this stuff, or people that even know about it, it'd be helpful to them, so he did it, and he did a very good job when I heard it. And he said it 99.9% exactly how I described it. I mean, almost perfect, even my voice inflections and stuff. And
Awesome.
so, but wasn't long after that. I get pulled in. I'm driving my truck, and I just got actually a brand new truck I got from the company, and it was like this truck's like 2 days old. It's like got 100 miles on it or something. It's like brand new. And I get pulled around the back. I'm like, I know they do inspections on trucks, but can't they tell this truck is like fresh out of the factory? You know? But maybe they're not looking for that. Maybe they're looking for other stuff. So they pull me around back, and I start taking my stuff in, thinking they want to look at my logs or whatever. And they catch me out before I come in. They're like, "Oh, we're instructed to hold you here for federal authorities to see you or talk to you."
Wow.
So, yeah. Well, how they found out is you know, when he had talked. This was like a month after that narration story came out. This is when this happened to me, and that's how they found out who I was.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I can understand it now. They figured out when they interrogated you and
they figured it out. Yeah, because they listen to this stuff, you know. So, but anyway, yeah. So it was a big old rigmarole with that too, because they were both coming. I didn't know what was going on. I thought, here, I'm really kind of upset, and I have a couple of guns in my truck, and it's not illegal, but I just don't, you know. So I'm trying to hide them, you know, like behind my seating and stuff, but, you know. And but I still had a rifle in the truck, so I couldn't really hide that, but not very easily. And when they get there, they're coming at me like, you know, intimidation tactics, you know, like.
Are these local police officers or federal, or how do they identify themselves?
Well, they told. Well, that's the thing. They didn't ID themselves right away. It was the state police that had me,
Okay.
you know, there. They had told them to hold me there when I came through.
Did they give you a reason why they were holding you?
What's that?
Did they give you a reason why they were holding you?
Well, at first they were. I said, "Well, what did I do?" And I said, well, and I'm like, you know what you did. Here's who we are. We're Homeland Security. That's and they flipped out something and it looked like Homeland Security. And
Wow.
I don't know, but they said, you know what you did, you know, and I'm like, what I do? And I'm like, I don't even know what's going on yet. Until I said, you got to tell me what's, you know, because they're taking my phone. They're trying to take my phone. They took my phone. They're looking through my stuff. They take my rifle to get that. And then, you know, a lot of bickering and back and forth went on, and not pleasant. And and I said, what did I do? Why are you guys coming at me like this? Because I didn't. You got the wrong guy, whatever. And they're like, you killed our asset.
Oh.
Yeah.
Our asset. Wow.
You know what you did. You know what you did, and you know you killed our asset. You know what you did. I'm like, well, first time I'm hearing of this, so glad you told me. You know, I did not know you guys had an asset, and that was more important in my life. You know, and then I started getting attitude. I said, you know, keep your dog on a leash, and then no one, you know, get shot in the face. So, but yeah, so
let me interrupt you 1 second. Where were you at when this took place? Was this in Michigan?
Indiana.
Indiana, okay.
That's where this happened.
And how long was this roughly after the incident happened? How long?
Oh, this would have been 5 years after the incident.
After the incident?
Yeah.
Wow. But right after you told Lance Hightower the story.
Yeah. It was like a month after that.
Okay. I'm putting it together.
And a lot of this, when you don't know what's going on, it takes you a little bit to like figure out put all the pieces together, But you got to do a little research and figure out that, there's a lot of nefarious things happening that, there's some kind of hybrid program going on, obviously. Because I do believe, like, unless there's something else that can convince me of it, I think they're from Nephilim origin. Half human, half spiritual, entity.
Well, with them calling this creature or what they were relating
an asset
is enough to get my attention. So whatever it may be, they definitely knew what it was, and they knew why it was there. So
yeah,
I don't understand. I guess nobody does, or
why
it was chasing the truck, but
it's self-defense, right?
Yeah, it's self-defense.
Yeah,
I was kind of mad that they were mad about me killing something for saving my own life.
Oh, Joe, let me ask you something. When you shot it, that gun has quite a kick to it, I'm sure. That's a big bullet. Yeah. You shot twice, right?
Yeah.
How much time was between the shots?
I'd say it had a split time of a couple thousands, maybe.
Okay, so
I got an iron wrist, and I shoot a lot. So
okay, so you didn't have your recoil didn't affect. You think you got it twice in the eye? Is that what you thought?
I would say I know one bullet hit it in the eye. It had to, because I think its bone structure is pretty so thick that I don't know if they'd have made it through. I don't know about that because I've heard of other people. After this happened, I started looking into other people's encounters, and I've heard they shot them with 12-gauge slugs, and that was another reason I wanted to say something. They shot them with 30-06, and pieces fly off them, but they don't die. They don't act, like it's hurting them. And I'm like, well, I don't know, but I killed one. Didn't seem to be a problem.
But they knew within minutes when you did.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing how they knew that quickly. They had to be close to the creature when you fired upon it.
I would say I was from the end of my gun to that creature. It was probably 5 feet.
Wow.
Probably.
Yeah. See, Bruce says SAD, Special Assignment Division, Clandestine Ops, Homeland Security. That's who these guys are.
Thanks a lot, Bruce. That's good to know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. I don't know. There's a lot of things I still don't know, but I just know enough to where I can put it together that I don't know the intricacies, but I know what happened overall at this point. That I do know some people since this happened. I ran into a lot of people that know a lot of things about this stuff, and I actually know somebody that worked in the dumps for years, and he told me a lot of things, and told me and Jenny a lot of things. But,
I gotta ask you this. So, how long did they interrogate you?
Oh, I think that they gave me my phone back. It was maybe I was out of there within an hour. It was under an hour.
And then they let you go about your own way?
Yeah. Yeah, they gave me my phone back. I think that what they did is they cloned it or something. But they didn't give me my gun back.
Did any of them give you a card or identify themselves by name?
Nope. I was saying, can I get because they kept my gun. Yeah, can I get my rifle back? Yeah, my rifle. They didn't find my pistol though. And I said, well, when we're ready to give it back to you, you'll get it back when we're ready. And so, that kind of thing. And I'm like, okay, well, I can't. How am I going to fight this? I can't really. do anything about it. And so the more, well, I did get it back, but it took it 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 took a while. It took a while.
Do you think they were watching you, Joe? Like,
Yeah. Well, the thing was, is they weren't watching me hard, but when I started talking about it, and I did. It got to a point where I didn't even care. I'm like, yeah, you just tell them my name, whatever. I don't care. And they told me at the time, though, we can do things to make your life miserable, and they did to prove it. After that initial thing, and they did cut off or freeze my bank account.
Yeah.
I had.
I actually know somebody that happened to.
There was a tracker found on my car. These things, but they don't really need that. They can track you other ways. But I don't know why they would do that. But I did find a tracker on my car. Well, at oil change place anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I after my story got to be more known out there, and there was a lot of people, starting to get my story out there. There was a lot of interest in it, and I was telling my story to whoever wanted to hear about it, and I think why I did get my gun back. They did give it back to me, but this is another story where they secretively put it in the back of my truck. I have a tonneau cover on my pickup truck. It's in a box. I don't know when they put it in there, but I hadn't been in there for a week, maybe a weekend, and it's locked up. The tailgate's locked, the top is locked. But somehow I get in there, and I look at it, and I open it up, and I look at the end of it, and I know it's that gun, and I think that's sending a message of some kind. I did get it back because I was starting to complain about it when I was telling my story that I never got my gun back. Well, I got it back a couple of years ago.
And the way they did it, it's almost like they're trying to prove that they can access just about anything.
Yeah, I think they're sending a message. I don't know how to take it, good or bad. Probably bad, but I don't trust them. So of course, you can, if they will ever wanted to try to frame me with it forensically, that's impossible because I dealt with that. Had gunsmithing done. So if they want to try to pull that, that's not going to work.
So you still having occurrences with them, or they kind of laid off of you?
They haven't. Well, I was supposed to go on a pretty, really huge, I guess, platform last fall, and then where my story would go worldwide to millions of people.
Oh, it will.
And
it is.
And I was approached because I had plane tickets. They sent me to go and everything, and it was all set up. And I was approached, and they had spooked me enough. I was in Maine when this happened. I was in Maine, and it wasn't anything nasty or anything unpleasant, but it was enough that I thought I should probably cancel that. So I did.
Wow.
So they are, this was not back in the fall. So, and it was, I think it was because it's such a big platform and this person is famous, really famous. So
My concern is, in all of this, is if they, instead of hassling you, why did they just not get you to sign an NDA?
That's a good question. That's what I'd like to know.
It would solve everything. Like, you wouldn't have all of this angst about worrying about who you're talking to publicly.
I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know if I even would though, but
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know. They just haven't gave me an offer like that. To even, I don't even know if I would though, because screw those guys.
no, that's what I mean. Like, an NDA would solve all the problems. You have military training, you're dealing with Homeland Security. They know you're going to honor that.
Well,
Anyway,
I don't know.
Yes.
These black projects, I don't know what they operate under different things. I don't know what the deal is, but I do know that there's a lot of things that happened to me in the military, in my training, that I think might, it not directly connect, but I think loosely might connect.
Yeah.
But I can't really. I do have a strong connection still to somebody from the military to this day. A strong connection. He's really powerful, and I think he's helped me a bit. So
Yeah.
I told him about it, so.
Bruce says clandestine ops don't have disclosures. No disclosure.
Oh, maybe that's why. I don't know, but I do know that my friend that I maintained, a good connection with all these years. He stayed in and retired.
Yeah.
I got out early. I didn't retire from the military, but he did. And so he went way up. He went way up, and of course, he's retired now, but he's not really retired. I mean, certain things you just don't retire from. Even though he is officially retired. So he's definitely a guy that knows about a lot of things and powerful enough to calm things down for me. And so, and I think that might have been something that I haven't like pushed it, but I think it might be something that he, on this last thing, that thought it might be in my best interest, at least right now. And, just politely say, hey, don't do this right yet for some reason. Because there's just a lot of things that I have to not know about, but kind of understand where it's coming from, when it comes to that. Because I know he can't directly just do, it's just hard to explain, but I can't divulge a whole lot anyway.
Yeah.
I just have a little bit of assistance when it comes to dealing with these authorities like that. So
I got to ask you a question, Joe. Have you been back through that area since in your rig?
Yeah, I've actually showed some people that wanted to see the area. I've taken them there. Years later. Of course, it looks a little bit different, but it's still mostly the same.
Okay.
They cut back the woods a little bit more from the road. It's cut back and thinned out more than it was back then.
Was that a normal route you normally took at that time?
Yeah. It wasn't something I did every day, but couple times a month, I might do that.
Was that the first time you'd ever seen anything in that area?
Yeah. First time I've ever seen a dog, man. I didn't even know what it was. I was like, what is, that's another why I was so, one of the reasons I was so like tripped out about it is I was like, that's a werewolf. What the hell? You know, I don't even know what to think about that. Those don't exist. Obviously, I just killed one, so
Right.
it takes a while to come to terms with this in your own head. This stuff,
I had a pretty bad experience my first time, but nothing like what you did. You had a lot worse experience than I did. But it's a form of PTSD that you have to deal with until you can.
Yeah.
You only start feeling better about it when you can start telling people.
That's true too. It really is. It really messed with me, and my mind was blown. But the more I learned about it, and then I finally did start talking about it. It absolutely does help a lot to talk about it, and with people that understand it and know about it, because that's who I basically started talking to people in this space, with cryptids, the people in the cryptid space,
Yeah, well, that's good.
There's a question here which I feel is relevant only because when you're dealing with different ops of sorts, things get weird when you're under observation. And Wayne is saying, in the years that followed, do you recall having more encounters with missing time or encounters that feel as though maybe you've been taken or woken in your bed, kind of going like, thinking that maybe, you were taken, which is what they do.
Well, I don't feel like I have. If I was, I have no clue that happened.
Yeah. Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's impossible. If it did happen, I have not even the slightest clue it did.
Yes.
But in my mind, no, that didn't happen.
Right. Well, it's a good thing.
Yeah. If it did, yeah. I don't know. I know there's reports of that going on, and that is just something I guess I'll never know.
It's just one of those highly strange, what they call high strangeness. I don't think it gets weirder than that. You've been centered out because you were defending yourself. And there are cases which, Darrell, Ron, and myself have talked about this, especially when Darrell was on the show, we were talking about the LBL, where people go missing all the time.
Yeah.
And there have been witnesses of dogmen back in cages in military vehicles, even in the LBL. I'm sure it's not the only place. So that seems to sort of just kind of get poo-pooed off in a different direction. And here you are just defending yourself. Let's face it, was you or it was the asset?
Yeah. Well, there was a comment on one of, there was a comment from somebody way back after one of these podcasters put me on, and I saw the comment, and it said, I live in that area of the Manistee National Forest, and I've lived there my whole life. And he said he was in this part of the forest that it's very remote. There's no roads near it or anything. It's deep in there, and you only can get back there by pretty much walking back in it. And he said that in a clearing, he was out there scouting around, hunting, whatever. There's a clearing out there, a little field. There was some iron cages out there, huge, like massive. Like you have to bring those in either through a portal or a helicopter, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. This is just a comment, but this is. I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it. You know, if the military's, you know, doing things we don't know they're doing for whatever reason. But there was nothing in them, but they were huge. Like you put it out in them, and they were like extremely thick and strong.
That was like a super soldier sort of thing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Your wife is mentioning 2 big black triangles over your semi. Sounds like the military TR3Bs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen those. I've seen one in Ohio, and I've seen one in New York.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's plain and simple triangles. You know, black. Just.
Well, there are ET ones like that, but they're massive. The TR3Bs are smaller scale.
Yeah, I'd say, it wasn't like, maybe the size of a house, maybe.
She says, tell them the Alaska Bigfoot the Army took out. From your lovely wife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's another thing too. While I have a quick break here, I want to thank Jeannie for helping out so much to get me all the information for Joe. So she's very helpful, and I appreciate Jeannie very. And
yeah,
she knows. She knows a lot about what I've seen. Probably in a lot of ways better than I can explain it. But she. That's actually how we met. Is we met at a Dogman conference.
Ah, wow. Crazy.
Well, no better way to meet.
Yeah.
Well, that was back in 2022. That's how we met.
But it would seem that the Manistee National Forest in Michigan is the origins of the first Dogman sightings, and of course the most popular is the Michigan Dogman.
Yeah, it really is. It's been around for a long time. The Michigan Dogman has. So.
Yeah. So, wow. Well, I mean, I want to thank you for coming on, telling your stories. It's just, I feel like we could probably do a part 2, just going off.
Well, there is the Bigfoot thing too.
Go ahead.
There's, like I said, I think there's some things loosely connected to me that correlate with some of this stuff. If you think about it a little bit deeper, you just got to get into it a little deeper. And some things seem to correlate with things that's happened to me when I was younger till today. I'm not saying it's 100%, but it does sure seem like it.
Do you think maybe, and I'll ask all 3 of you, do you think that sometimes they find you, like you're just marked as an experiencer and they come looking for you?
I think there is something to that. I do. There's a lot of things that have to do with bloodlines in the Bible.
Oh, yes, there are.
Yeah. And
your blood type, Joe?
I have a pretty purebred bloodline, if you want to go heritage-wise. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but there's some stuff in there too that make me wonder.
Well, vibration's a big deal.
I'm from many, many, many generations of warriors, Viking type stuff, and way beyond that, before Christ. It's really interesting. Really, it's even. I haven't studied it too much, but I do know from what I have seen in my lineage is that it's not normal. There's a king in there and stuff. It's.
But you know what? Here's a little something I'm going to show you guys, which is what I wanted to show. I think I tried to show this before, because you're speaking biblically, right? So here is I'm going to show you some very old images. Okay, here we go. Let me just put this up. Okay, right here. St. Christopher.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, this one right here. Where is it? Right there, right there. There we go. St. Christopher.
Yeah.
What do you make of that?
Well, what about the Lion Men of Moab?
Yes.
You know, there's several things the Bible talks about this kind of hybrid stuff, you know, and being real.
Mm-hmm. They've been showing things like this for, I mean, you go back into the time, what we look at as mythology may not have been mythology. It really may have been something much greater, because here we go again. These are old depictions.
All these
I
cultures.
agree with that. I think you're right, Michelle. You're onto something there, because the mythology, I don't think, is anywhere near what this is meant to be. But
Just look at all the hybrids, you know, like Anubis. I always go back to Anubis, one of the first dogmen, you know, like.
We're all hybrids.
Yeah,
we're hybrids.
You're right.
We're back into Mesopotamia, into the Anunnaki, and you find out that there's all kinds of experimental things been done to the different species on this planet. And so this Dogman thing, it could be military. It could, there's so much going on we don't see, that we don't know about. If you look back into history, a lot of that stuff has gone on. I mean, all the way from Thorpe, and you get into the Anunnaki and the all that's the weird things that was going on back then with the hybridization going on, because I think entities from other out of the cosmos, and I don't say that lightly, but
there's a question. Oh, when you're done, Ron, keep going.
Well, that's just part of this whole thing, I think.
Oh, it's true. There's miles of information on it. If you know where to look, you go back to
you gotta
the
research.
beginnings.
You got to remember, we live in a fallen world. This world belongs to Satan.
It's not on the vibration it's supposed to be on. That's for sure.
Yeah, and you know, so that's the problem. Is there's God, and there's everything else, you know, and that's just how it is, you know.
Yeah.
So you got to remember that.
I like to think that our creator was creative and created many things. I just think through the deceptions of man, that it got bastardized in there in some of the worst ways. And maybe we need to look at them as one of the mysteries of life. And it would be interesting to come across one that hasn't been tampered with.
Yeah, well, there's only been a few of those in history that we know of. A few people, anyway.
I personally think that there's so much tampered with, and it can be in a lot of different. I've heard the Romans did it. I've heard the Catholic Church done it. I've heard everything. The biblical part of the Bible has so many scriptures.
Oh, if you get into the Nephilim, that's a big tamper.
I mean, there's so much tampering done, and with.
I actually know somebody.
Itself, so
I do know somebody personally that is highly credible that actually worked alongside a Nephilim giant. I mean, worked in a deep underground base.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's surprising.
And
there's a lot that goes on in those facilities.
Yeah, he was supposed to be a scientist or something, but they keep him hidden.
Yeah.
Really, I guess he was really weird. This guy's weird, didn't have a lot of, no social skills or anything, but pretty smart, and really big, and knew science, I guess.
Wow.
But worked with this guy alongside him. So I don't know. He's a pretty credible dude. So.
Yeah, they've often spoken of even Bigfoot. I think it was Corey Good. I think it might have been Corey Good, who talked about seeing a Bigfoot in an underground facility, way down because of the size of them. But
Yeah,
they were working alongside the people there,
yeah.
according to him as a
All
whistleblower.
kinds of things are happening in those things that
Mm,
just are the craziest stuff you ever heard. I mean,
mm,
you know,
mhm.
I don't can't say because I just know from what I, you know,
Mm.
secondhand. But if
Sure.
half of it, if any of it's true, even a little bit, it's just wild. You know.
Yeah. Well, it's like it's your encounter has been life-changing, but it just seems to have, set the stage to put you on a path to a different type of evolution with knowledge,
Yeah.
like
And
that's something that you can go in and just go, go, go.
actually, I'm so much more um,
Yes,
clear.
please.
Have a clarity. I have a clarity that I never had in my life now.
Yes.
You know, it's just it. There was so much um, before that I really didn't pay attention to, or didn't know about, or didn't care to know about, or you know, however you want to say it. And I just was confused about. I have answers and clarity about just about almost anything when it comes to a world view and a spiritual view of
Yes.
things and how it correlates. You know,
So it's opened your mind.
yeah, it's like I became an adult all of a sudden. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
like I was a confused child for
Or
50
maybe just
years.
sleepwalking.
Yeah, like I was sleepwalking
Yes,
for
Yeah,
50 years.
right?
very possible.
Yeah.
As traumatic as it is, it actually grew me. Uh, you know, grew me spiritually and mentally, and in so many ways it's hard to even explain.
Mhm.
It was a experience that was totally, completely transformational. You know, it
Mhm.
for you know for the better too. For it was just beneficial in my life to go through this traumatic
Transition.
traumatic transition. It was
Yeah.
dramatic, but not
But
even worse.
you're lucky that you're alive to talk about it. If
Uh,
you weren't as quick draw
Yeah.
McGraw over here.
Quick draw.
Well,
yeah,
Yeah.
there's been stories and cases of people with doors open and cars running and trucks running, and nobody sees them. You know, no finds them again, and nobody
Mhm.
sees where they go. And
become a part of the
Yeah.
missing 411. That's for sure.
yeah,
Mhm.
I've,
There we
I've heard
go.
of those stories happening where I could have been one of those, and that's the last book I want to be in. I think
Do you fear that still? Or do you think they've it's just old news now?
I I don't really fear it. I'm not saying it couldn't happen, but
Yeah.
I always got something for them before I go out. So I don't know. That's just my attitude.
Yeah.
So
Right, right.
I'm not gonna go down, easy.
You've left your mark
Yeah,
in this field, your experience in talking about it, because you've sort of validated what most people like Ron and Darrell's like, yeah, we know. But there are other people out there maybe just getting into it, and now they can maybe get into it or have an experience, and in the back of their minds, they could say to themselves, okay, you know what, there's something else I need to be real careful of here, and it's not necessarily the cryptid.
Well, I after I come to the conclusion that I'm doing a disservice for not sharing it, I I, I didn't realize that for a good while. You know,
Mhm.
I had to come to that on my own after some time
Mhm.
to realize that it doesn't matter if people think I'm crazy. There's the people that you know need to understand and know that they're the people that have had encounters or are open minded enough to look into it more. I'm not like here trying to convince you.
Mhm.
I'm just here, just saying. You know what I mean? I'm just
You're telling
take
your
her,
tale.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think it matter.
take her.
I think you're right. I come to the conclusion many years ago. I really don't care what anybody believes. I know what I've seen and experienced, and
Yeah,
people don't want to accept it. That's their ability to do that. So
yeah. I think that's your first inclination, though, when it's
yeah.
stuff like this. You're gonna be like, oh, you're worried about socially what people are gonna think about it.
Well, I mean, the worst part about it, back when I had my encounter, was in '92, my first one. There was nobody to talk to. There wasn't any
Yeah.
shows like
Oh,
this.
yeah.
There weren't any Facebook groups. There weren't anybody. So,
I bet you it was even back, years ago. But even this in 2017, you wouldn't believe how
oh,
much
yeah.
of nothing there was on Dogman. There was nothing,
Sure, there wasn't. Yeah.
Mm.
and it just seemed to be like a few years after that, it started catching on. I started finding more stuff.
I probably hear as much about Dogman now as I do Bigfoot. Not quite as much, but close. And back in the day, I'd never heard of a Dogman until my best friend Martin Groves told me that he was almost eaten by one in '93. So
yeah. It's weird because the Michigan Dogman is supposed to be like, where it's most popular to be known from, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I lived in Michigan my whole life and never heard of the thing until this happened, So I just thought I knew Bigfoot existed, and I heard about that since I was a kid. But a Dogman I'd never heard a thing about it until I had this encounter, and then I started looking into it, werewolves, and looking up that stuff, and Dogman started popping up here and there. Not a lot, but there was a little bit, but there wasn't a lot at first when I first started looking into it back then. But I realized, okay, this is a Dogman. Started figuring out things for myself that I'm like really onto something here with this, because over time it made me realize I gotta tell people there's details about my story that are extremely important. A bunch of them. They're just little, but they're little things, like copper. Okay, those bullets are solid copper. Now, if you know anything about Nephilim, they couldn't kill these things when they fought these giants without copper weapons. It had to be. I think copper is poison or something. They had to use copper weapons. And who controlled all the copper? It was a Nephilim.
That's true. That's true.
It's just like there's something to all these little details in my story. You just gotta pay attention enough to these things, and I can't think of all the little details, but I'm sure they've all come out in different times I've told it.
Yeah. Well, it sure goes against the grain of the old tale of silver bullets killing the werewolf.
Yeah. I absolutely. Another thing that was weird is after I started talking about copper bullets.
Yes.
They Martin Groves, right? He said but that wasn't long after, and it was weird. I'm not saying it was me, but it was really weird that they outlawed using copper ammunition on federal land. Wasn't it long after that? I'm not saying it was me because of me talking about it. I'm just saying it's really odd. Why? Why would that be a thing?
Yeah.
Pretty unusual, it really is. But I remember when that was brought up, and it's been quite a while. But
it's been a while.
Yeah,
but that's when I started talking about it about that same time.
Yeah, that's probably why they banned it. So
something tells me that you're going to find a lot more, and the pieces of the puzzle will still keep coming together, and you're going to have a few wow moments moving forward, because you know what? it just keeps evolving. The story keeps evolving.
Yeah.
These beings keep evolving.
Right. Yeah. I'm
Joe,
sure.
I want to thank you so much for coming on, Joe.
Yeah.
Appreciate
you're
you
welcome.
being here, and I want to thank Jenny again for helping out, and I want to thank my
Yeah.
good friend Barton Nunley for reaching out and giving me your phone number. So,
Yeah.
Ryan,
Yeah.
do you have anything you want to ask Joe before we go?
Joe, thank you.
Oh, you're
I
welcome.
appreciate hearing your
You're
story.
welcome.
It's amazing.
I
I
think
know
that.
shooting one in the eyes, shooting a Bigfoot or a Dogman in the face.
Well,
Tell me
I,
what you're
I
going to kill him. That goes way back into Daniel Boone story.
yeah,
He
yeah.
shot one in the eye.
Yeah.
And
I don't know if that.
Michelle may have something she might want to ask too. So,
Oh no, I've been throwing my 2 cents worth the
okay.
whole way along. but
Yeah.
but I do hope, Joe, that you'll consider returning as you
Yeah,
make
for
more
sure.
discoveries, and because sometimes it's nice just to hang out with a group of people. Like,
Yeah.
like tonight, like, okay, it's a show, but I mean, we're still bouncing ideas around. Where the chat community is going crazy. They're sharing their experiences, and
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
taking it in from you as well.
Yeah. Well, that's why I do this. It's not for me. I don't do
Yeah.
this for me. I do
Right.
this to help, my brothers and sisters in the
Yeah.
world, that need information to help them. It can save your life. It can, who knows? And there's probably other ways as well that this information can help you.
But Joe, if somebody wants to reach you and you'd like them, welcome them to do that, how would they reach you?
Well, I'm not on any social media. I'm not really. I'm not really out there. I'm not. I'm kind of a private guy.
I knew you were, and that's another reason I really appreciate you coming on and telling all this.
You can always reach out to Darrell, or you can always reach out to the show, and
Sure.
we could, relay.
Yeah, I don't mind talking to people about this or
Yeah.
anything. I don't mind that. I'm just not trying to be out there and I
Right.
don't know. I guess I'm trying to be. I'm just trying to be humble about it. I don't.
I think it's a good idea, Joe, that you are, kind of incognito, seriously, because you're going to get a lot more information by being under the radar than you are out being just like out there. And because you are a person of interest as an asset removal guy, I think it's very important that you keep a low profile as much as you can anyway.
Yeah, I don't want to do this for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I know a lot of things happen that way. You do stuff for the wrong reasons, and it's not that don't glorify God. So I guess that's probably why I don't want to do the wrong thing. I want to make sure that I'm out there putting out information that is helpful to people and valuable, but I don't want really anything from it other than to know that it's helpful. And
If you save one life, Joe,
yeah,
aside from your own as well, if you save one life, mission accomplished.
Yeah, and I'll probably never know if this ever happened, but
you'll know one day when you're up at the pearly gates, and they're gonna say, "Hey, you know what?
Well, we all have a delusion of separateness.
You made a difference." Yeah.
Made a difference, and it probably, things like that probably make a difference, not for only one person, but it's kind of like a domino effect,
Right.
So I gotta believe that I'm doing it for the right reasons, and that then that people can take that away with with that perspective in mind. That I don't not here to convince you, make a lot of money, write a book, none of that. I had no interest in none of that. You know, I never did. So,
and we
writing a book don't make you money anyway, Joe. So I'll tell you.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I've heard that, but I know you could, you know, I guess the right publishers and the right, you know, things. But I've heard people have told me I should do things like that. But I don't.
I know a lot of people that do a lot of things, just publishers and filmmakers, and if you ever decide you want to go down that road, you know.
Yeah, there's been people that's asked me to do things.
Yeah.
I've done them if I think it's above board, but I think some of this stuff is, you know, people are just trying to make money.
You know, and you know what? And that's just it. You do what feels right to you. That's all that matters. If it feels right and feel like it's for something that falls within your boundaries and what you value, that's what you do.
I'm not against making money. It's not that.
No, for sure. Yeah.
I mean, you know, if there's value in it and you make money at it, then that's all good, well and good too. It's just that's not where I want to start from. You know?
Yeah.
Now, I don't think anybody should start from that place, you know.
I think you've been off to a really good start, and there's a lot of people tonight who've heard your story. And again, I'm excited to see what you're going to find moving forward, because you will find it. And now we're at the top of hour 2, which has been an incredible. Just so you know how fascinating a story is. This is a 1-hour show.
Oh, is it? I don't even know. I don't have one.
We're past the second hour.
Oh, yeah, we enjoyed.
Definitely enjoyed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you again,
Yeah.
Joe.
All right,
That's right. We just hung in there. It was awesome. So
yeah, it's been a good time. I'm glad I met you, Ron, and talked to you and everything too. I've known about you for a long time. You know.
Remember, Joe, there's 2 sides to every story.
Yeah.
Oh, Ron. Oh, Ron.
I know.
Well, so
I'd like to meet. I'd like to talk some more, Joe. I think we could have a good conversation.
Yeah. And you reinforced some of the things that, you know, I talked about too, that I was like, well, yeah, you know, it's good to hear when somebody else can like verify the same kind of things.
Yeah, this whole thing can develop you spiritually too. This whole situation, because that's where it screwed me. I'm in my 80s now. I can see how it just made me go a big circle into why I got wrapped up in this Bigfoot stuff. You know, who knows? Other than that, it took me where I am now, and I'm in peace now, and peace is good. That's what we all want. Peace.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I know. It's kind of like you said earlier. You know, you don't find it finds you.
That's true.
100%.
It's all about your vibration, which is created by your how you are inside your spirit and all that. I think I can read your aura, because your heart is your energy, and that's what puts out the aura, and that's what they read. That's what a lot of animals read. That. That's what all animals do.
You know what? What's weird is dogs really like me. You know, and Dogman, I don't have any love for, but dogs like me.
Well, they read you.
Dogman
might have just been trying to get up close and personal to decide if he liked you.
Yeah, I didn't give him a chance, did I?
No, I know.
Way too serious.
Well, and this is where we have to leave it, unfortunately. So thank you so much, Joe, for joining us and sharing your incredible experience with us.
Appreciate you, Joe.
And thanks to everybody in the chat room. You guys are like amazing. So much great information being shared up. So thank you for that. And big thanks to the United Public Radio Network 105.3 FM, 107.7 FM. So please like, subscribe, share, comment, feel free to reach out to us, Michelle Desrochers, contact@gmail.com. I will funnel it out where it needs to go. If you have a great story to tell, we're your guys. We want to hear about it. So anyway, thank you all. And I guess I should say it's almost, well, it is good morning. So good morning.
Yeah.
And have yourselves
Appreciate everyone watching.
yeah, have a terrific week, everyone.
All right.
Good night.
So-